Good morning, invitation patrons. I'm really excited today to do a new composition with you with just these three colors as usual. And in order to do a guided drawing and get some art practice, you don't need a lot of materials. All you have to have is three colored pencils, a sheet of computer paper, and you can see that I made a border by folding a sheet of computer paper in half and drawing around it. And then you just follow along with me and have some fun and get some renewal. All right, as usual, we're just going to start with yellow and allow yellow to emanate from the upper portion of the composition. And you notice that I'm kind of going from the upper right down at a slant towards the lower left. But you don't have to do any slants. You can go sideways, you can go up and down if you want, but it's just easier since I'm right-handed. And I'm going to come down to just about 2/3 of the page down. And then I'm going to take my blue and lightly allow the blue to come from the bottom of the portion of the picture, very lightly to begin with, and we'll get this darker in time. And I'm just going to allow this blue to sweep around, and even it's going to come a little bit into the yellows. And once it does, it's going to start to create a green. A little bit of a green is going to appear. And now I'll come right back to yellow, and I'm going to start by greening up that area that I created. I'm even going to bring green down around the white portion that I have left. Now this white portion that you see, you notice it isn't a perfect circle, but rather it's undulating and getting very narrow in the back. That's because this is actually going to become water. And so after we get our green, we're going to come back to the blue and deepen the green a little bit down below. And then we can even bring a very, very light blue into what's going to be our water. Very light blue. Now since I have blue and I'm going to continue on with that, I'm going to work somewhere up in the top, allowing blue to create a large form. And this form is not going to be perfectly triangular. It's going to have bulges on its sides. And as it comes down to meet the green, it's also going to have some more bulges, maybe a little bit darker. And this blue is going to be a little bit darker down below, so I have to press a little bit harder. And remember, it's not going to be a perfect shape. And this blue from behind here will be a little bit lighter, and it'll come down to where that other one has started. So we have a lighter blue, a deeper blue, and then here at the edge of the blue and the yellow, we're going to have the deepest, darkest blue. And for these, I'm going to do sort of upright gestures, like a tree line. And these will just crisscross across the composition. And create a little border, sort of like a border of trees. And you can even have little gestures of upright, dark lines in the background here, to create tiny little surfaces of trees too. And in the big mountain, we might just have some darker blue areas. We won't actually see trees back there, but we'll just have some shaded areas where the eye can imagine trees will grow. And since we are working with trees, come back then to the yellow and go right over the blue in order to make it deeper, richer, and more forest green. You can use your yellow up and down gestures like this, or you can take your yellow and cover a surface. You can cover the bottom to get a richer, more intense yellow, and you can layer the intense yellow with the blue to get a green. And yellow and blue together make a really placid feeling. And you can see I'm just getting a little bit of depth of bank around my waterline by intensifying the blue around there. But together, yellow and blue and green, they long for something a little bit red. And so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to bring in a little bit of red. Now let's start by using red very, very gently in this yellow sky, this summer sky. Most of you are probably saying, well, I've never seen a yellow sky, Janet. Maybe you have only recognized yellow in the sky at sunset or sunrise. But sometimes the golds in the sky just give us the feeling of warmth and midday. But we can also bring this red into our mountain, our distant mountain, to get more interest of color. And I can just see it beginning to be a little bit brown back there, which is good. Purple or brown for the distant mountain is going to look really nice. And in this next one forward, I'll press a little bit harder with my red so that that hilltop shows in front of the big mountain, and work your way down into the upright tree gestures and in an uneven manner, and that means not every quarter inch. That looks infinitely boring if you do that. So make sure that you're sometimes putting strokes close together and sometimes you put them far away. And vary the heights. And then bring a little bit of red even down into the ground, unifying the composition with the color. And now we're going to do something quite bold. We're going to add something into the foreground to make this really stand out as being closer to us. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin to grow a great tree here that's going to be in the front. It's going to come right up into the sky, and it's going to Y off, and then it's going to have many branches that stick out, come off of each other, and you can have them be more refined and delicate as they reach up. And we won't just leave the tree red, but we'll make it a deeper purple by putting the blue right on top of the red, shadowing it. Continue through your tree to allow it to grow and get more branches as you go. You can add branches simply in the blue because we're going to be covering these with some leaves in a second anyway. Now you can see that this tree really does add to the sense of there being something up close. We might even have like another tree back there further away, because as Bob Ross says, all trees like to have a little friend. They hardly ever grow all by themselves. Even if they're near water and they're water hogs, like maybe this one is, it might like to have some other friends back there. So now let's get some leaves on that tree. And for this, I want you to start with the yellow and just let your hand kind of scribble, if you will, because we're not going to worry too much about how the leaves look. You could sit there and draw every single leaf, and that would be an exercise in and of itself. But I think you would maybe get tired of that, especially since this is just a renewing exercise. So then just take blue on top of your yellow and let your hand just move in all kinds of directions. It's very important that the leaves sometimes grow away from the tree. They don't grow in a perfect ball all around. And sometimes the green is down here, covering the branches. You don't have to worry too much about how the leaves are going to look. We're just letting that essence of greenery appear. All right, now it is time for us to punctuate the composition. And that means we want certain elements to really stand out. Very important, of course, to stand out is the trunk, because it's in the front, and I want you to darken the ground underneath the trunk to really put it down into the earth. You may even have some small grasses growing along the banks. But darken your trunk, make sure it's really rich. And when you come through the branches, don't draw them entirely through, but dot and dash through. Maybe you just do some of the upper portions. Maybe you do the trunk itself, but you don't do every single one. And now to continue punctuating, maybe just some of those edges of the mountain that's in front, and a few places in the mountain and back, using both the blue and the red to differentiate the color. Because we have a lot of green in this picture, so we might want to just make that distant mountain a little bit violet by mixing the red and blue together. And then finally, if you want to, you could put some small creatures in the pond. Maybe there would be a few ducks. Swimming around. Or perhaps you'll have a frog or some kind of a deer in the background. It could be a squirrel. Who knows what kind of creatures you will find. I hope you enjoy this simple little exercise using red, yellow, and blue, and that you'll create your own spring scene that will bring you confidence and renewal.